What's going on, Badger Nation? Welcome to the PPC Den podcast, where for over 250 episodes, we've been your home for all things Amazon advertising, tips, tricks, and strategies to make your Amazon PPC life a little bit easier, a little bit more profitable. You can get a list categorized of all of our episodes in the description below. It's our content library. It's a checklist, covers every nook and cranny of Amazon marketing. Pretty proud of it. Check it out. We also host a monthly webinar, which you can check out at adbadger.com/webinar. And today we're going to be talking about Prime Day. I'm super stoked because today I met Jake over from Jungle Scout, a company we all know and respect. And we have a conversation about Prime Day, different tips, tricks, strategies, mindset to have going into it. We talk about everything from going harder to going into Prime Day a little bit more passive. So check it out. It's a good one. I'll see you inside the PPC Den.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bids, set placements too, and bad mistakes. I've made a few. I've had my share of wrong keywords, but I've got through. We are the PPC Den, my friends, and we'll keep up the rising to the end. You two are the PPC Den. We talk about Amazon. No time for mannequins, 'cause we fix the gambit of the world.
Alrighty, Jake. I just found out we're basically neighbors.
Yes.
Neighbors here in Austin. It's nice to have you on the show, and it's been great getting to know you.
Of course. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate coming on. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the show. I love the intro, and I'm glad to hear myself after it.
Yes. You know what? I can't tell you how many times people have told me, you got to cut the intro down. Intro's too
Oh,
long.
no.
People
I'd go
think
longer.
People think it's weird. That's the whole point. It is
awesome.
fun. It is unusual. But
It's
you
great.
know,
It's unique.
if I'm not having fun, nobody else is. Is maybe a phrase to say, but yes.
I like it.
Any ideas for future intros? Because we like to change it up.
Yeah. I would stick with it. I would really lean into it. Yeah, it's great. It's great as it is.
What do you think Jungle Scout would say if you wanted to do a crazy intro?
That would be awesome. Welcome to the jungle is so obvious. There's probably
Yes.
some sort of like licensing play there, but
Every single one of our videos gets flagged for copyright because we
Oh, does it?
cover
Yeah.
we cover Freddie Mercury, we cover Queen. Every single video we get a copyright claim.
it's such a good quality too. You wouldn't.
I
It's
know.
good.
I know, right? So we are talking about Prime Day, and Prime Day is coming up real fast. I think that people should begin to, if they haven't already, begin marking your calendars for May 5th, May 10th every year to get ready for Prime Day. And we're going to be talking about some Prime Day. So before we go any further, Jake, I think it'd be cool if you just told people who you are and you're a seller yourself. So yeah, give people a little bit of background on you.
Yeah, a quick background on myself. My name is Jake Zarastian, and I work at Jungle Scout. I'm a video content creator. Mostly do a lot of our YouTube videos and other in-house productions as well. As Mike said, I'm an Amazon seller myself. I have a company that I just launched last year, actually, and I manage our Jungle Scout brand as well. It's called Jungle Creations, where we show you guys essentially how to sell on Amazon. We document it on YouTube and just share with you guys our key insights and what we're testing and learning over on YouTube. Before that, I came from an agency where I worked as an advertising specialist, helping some pretty big brands and as well as some local small brands scale on Amazon specifically. And I wanted to learn how to sell on Amazon myself and become a seller. So I started doing it. And through learning or through selling, I learned how to sell on Amazon. And that's what I'm teaching others how to do right now on YouTube. So yeah, just a little background.
What's the best part about selling on Amazon?
The best part about selling on Amazon is, specifically Amazon, I would say, is how hands-off you can be. I have a full-time job, of course, and I also work with a few other brands outside of what I mentioned. And I'm still able to run my own business on Amazon because I'm not handling any of the fulfillment or all that stuff that would take a majority of my day. So to me, it's the fact that it's realistic to sell on Amazon
Yeah,
and scale.
that's cool. I got to ask you the opposite question now.
Hmm.
What's the toughest part about selling on Amazon?
Toughest part is doing what I probably do once a month as a shopper is product returns, is
Mm,
is handling those product returns. I don't know why I haven't turned off the notification on my phone every time I get one, but it's the most gut wrenching
yeah.
feeling that I get like probably once a day now. But is handling the unexpected cost, and I think returns is the one that happens most frequently for me.
Right. You don't think about that when you're getting ready to launch.
No.
Like, ooh, people are going to love this stuff. And then it's like return and then
Yes.
getting the notification stuff. I would mute that. I couldn't handle it. So let's talk about Prime Day. It's coming up. This episode, we normally have sort of maybe a 2 week turnaround time with our episodes, but this one we're getting out fast. We're recording this on June 30th, and we're going to try to get this out as quickly as possible. And I guess the question is, if people are hearing this maybe the first week of July, or let's talk about things that they should be doing going in to just maximize their Prime Day returns.
Yeah. So what you can do right now, to your point, you probably can't do inventory. I mean, that's a little bit too late. You might want to have done that a few months ago.
Yeah.
However, a lot of things that we're talking about probably today is things that you should be doing all throughout the year. But specifically, like what you can do right now, my favorite pre-Prime Day approach is to collect as much data as I possibly can. So a lot of sellers will wait until Prime Day to launch their campaigns and go really aggressively. I tend to do that process at least a month out. And even if we're not converting like we would, because customers now know Prime Day is coming up and they're waiting and they're not buying and they're just like adding things to their shopping list, I still love collecting that data because you can always retarget them with that information. So to me, I think going aggressive before Prime Day is a really great strategy if you can, take that potential hit to your margins there. But that's my favorite play right now is using Amazon ads specifically, and even A/B testing. So separate from collecting more data is customer data is figuring out what's going to work come Prime Day. So your title, your bullet points, your images, doing all that testing now. These are things I think you can do right now, the week leading up to Prime Day.
Yeah, a couple different things there. I, I say this every Q4. I say this every Prime Day. But a lot of the things that you do for these peak times are things that you should be doing anyway, and they only
Mm.
maximize everything during these peak days. I think of like all the greats like Kobe Bryant. I think was very well known for like showing up to the gym all the time in off season and like really trying to perfect his game so that when it came time for the championship, he had already done all the hard work. So something like
Right.
A/B testing, I think, is like an analog to that, where it's like, I don't know if you're the kind of seller who likes to like ebb and flow with your effort. It's like, okay, I'm going to go hard in like the 3 months before Prime Day and the 2 months before Q4 to like really get aggressive with things. A/B testing is absolutely something that to think about. A/B testing your price, A/B testing titles, like ensuring that your A+ content is exactly where it should be. Like doing all of those things is good best practice anyway. And sometimes I tell people like put that on a like recurring reminder, like, hey, every 60 days, just like play with A/B testing some things. And they're like, oh, I gotta keep a schedule. I have the in your project management board to like remind myself to do this. I'm trying to
Yeah.
chill with my business, but time and time again, the most successful people that I see on Amazon are the ones who like are in a high gear all the time. And to your point too, I've always thought that the people who have the bounciest trampolines, meaning the people who are able to like bounce past a lull the fastest, are always the ones who are like doing those things. Like they're always trying to increase their speed, even when there's a headwind. So, for example, when COVID happened, people who were like stepping on the gas and like weren't so timid bounced out of that the fastest. And like there's normally a lull before Prime Day. The people who are stepping on the gas have the biggest butt jumps for Prime Day.
Right.
So in general, the faster you go during slow periods, the faster you'll go during fast periods. So I always like to think about that. And I mean, there's a laundry list of those kinds of ideas. But A/B testing, when I'm going to circle back to A/B testing because I think it's an underutilized component. There's if someone's listening, they're like, I do have some time to get some data for A/B testing so I can maximize my Prime Day. What are some things that they should do today, you think?
I think the most impactful A/B test is your image. This is one that, to your point of doing throughout the year, I think is so valuable. It's in my opinion, the number one way to impact your business is if you can slightly improve your click-through rate. And of course, your conversion rate will hopefully be a side effect of that as well. So I think if your main image can be slightly improved before Prime Day, I mean, that's going to have ripple effects on your business, not just on Prime Day, but after that. So to me, if even if it's just like a week test, like run the test, maybe it's a slightly different angle. Maybe it's a very subtle prop in your main image, something that would, be passed through the Amazon algorithm, something not too over the top there, but just the main image to me, I think is the most impactful. Of course, you can optimize your title as well. One, I think, sneaky way to think about A/B testing too is marrying your title and images together. Thinking about the keywords you're going to be bidding on Prime Day. So if your top keyword is waterproof, for example, but it's a little bit further down your title, maybe bring that up and have that. You probably can't show this in your main image, but you potentially could, depending on what niche you are, having show that waterproof visually in your main image. Marrying those together would be a really great strategy. So I think those two, marrying together the title and image, would be a great thing to test right now before Prime Day.
Yeah, there's the classic marketing line, which is like, "Don't make me think," where it's just like, just I want to like just be able to glance at it without even reading the individual words. Like I'll see the word waterproof, and I'll see some kind of waterproof action in my image, and even before I like read and register those words, I already understand what it is.
Exactly.
So I love that maxim. Swinging over to the PPC side of things, I ran some numbers from AdBadger customers for 2022's Prime Day. So this is last year. I'm just going to throw some stats at you for last year. So basically what I did was I compared Prime Days. It's a 48-hour period last year, July 12th and July 13th. And by the way, in case you don't know, Prime Day this year is just one day different. It's the 11th and 12th. That's right? Yes, 11 and 12.
Yes.
And
exactly.
here's some quick data. Total impressions on the 48-hour time frame for Prime Day versus the rest of July. 58% more impressions. The split there was 58 more impressions on sponsored products, 64% more impressions on sponsored brands, and 52% more impressions on sponsored display. Total clicks was up 47%. Total orders per marketplace up 66%, which is really cool. The split there was 66% more orders on sponsored products, 62% more orders on sponsored brands, 76% more orders on sponsored display. The caveat there being that number is way lower per marketplace, so it's easier to get a lift, a percentage-based lift there. Total spend up 60%. Total sales up 64%. Total CPCs, average CPC up 23%. And then average ACOS down 13%, which is pretty cool. The average ACOS for the month of July last year was 32%, and then just on Prime Day was 28%. So I know I just threw a whole bunch of numbers at you, but I'm curious what your sort of reaction is of those numbers and how you inform your sort of PPC strategy, sort of like thinking about the past and thinking about what you want to accomplish here.
Yeah, I really love the correlation there between your rising cost per click and a decrease in ACOS. I think it's obviously counterintuitive, but a lot of sellers are a little bit nervous when they go to switch their bids from a regular suggested bid to the Prime Day suggested bid that Amazon gives out. It's significantly higher for a lot of keywords I've seen. And I usually actually go a little bit higher than that. I assume everybody else is clicking that suggested bid button.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel a lot better hearing that data that you just mentioned. That is always a concern, is the rising cost per clicks on Amazon. It's becoming more competitive. It's just they're coming up with more placements and there's more testing going on. Consumers are seeing ads in different spots. It's totally different now. And I think I feel a lot better hearing that from you. It sounds like that's, you have that data from a lot of different marketplaces, and that's great to see that, because that's what I see on my side as well. Cost per clicks go up, ACOS goes down, but conversions as a whole increases.
I don't think I mentioned it, but CPCs went up 23%, conversion rates went up 35%.
That's awesome.
So that's why ACOS goes down, because conversion rate goes up faster than CPC. So that's awesome. So yeah, so with that in mind, I always like to use that to inform where my normal CPC should be increased and where my normal spend should be increased. And I also think too, when you dig into specific campaigns, that's not always linear, meaning not every keyword in your account will go up 35% conversion rate. That is the average, which means some keywords are going to go up 40, 50% conversion rate. So, imagine a keyword where you normally get a 10% conversion rate now jumps up to 15% conversion rate. So that can change how you view things. So I always like to say, like you can 80-20 that. So like your very best campaigns with your very best keywords, you'd probably want to give them almost like a 2x bump in things. And then maybe the weaker side of things, you give them an average increase to give them room to grow so you don't miss out on any of the opportunity. And that is always the biggest thing that I see. Data has been notoriously delayed for Amazon PPC in 2023. I think I saw something, there was like sponsored brands was delayed for like 2 weeks getting into the platform. And I think a lot of times people see that on Prime Day, they see themselves spending a lot and they're looking at their advertising account, seeing spend jump through the roof, and then they're looking at their sales from their Amazon account, and they, will go to different groups and say, hey, my conversion rate on Prime Day is so low. This is still a thing that I think happens to a lot of sellers. They will look at their advertising stats on the day and begin to make changes on the day. But I think for all the years that we've been tracking this, 4 years, this is about what happens every single year. Your sales will go up about 50%. Your ACOS will go down. Like all of the metrics will move in the right direction. And as long as you're amplifying your very, very best things, and you don't panic. I don't know if you interact with anybody who does this, but like they panic on Prime Day or on Black Friday. They're like, whoa, my spend is going up. And they're like, let their campaigns run out of budget. Not knowing that the conversion data is delayed. So a reminder to anyone out there who needs it.
I was gonna say, especially at like 10 a.m., you look at your budgets and it's out of budget already, and you just freak out and you go, okay, maybe I'll increase another $10, but it's gonna go quickly and you just stop for the day. That to me is why you should, I think, segment keywords into different campaigns so you can have all these different levers and you can confidently say, okay, that keyword I've spent way too much money on. Let me stop that for the day, or let me lower that bid for the day, and then focus my attention on these other close striking range keywords that I like better. Or can convert better. Do you do that, Mike? I'm curious how you like setting up campaigns, and do you try to do multiple keywords? Is that almost like impossible with certain accounts?
I try to use this guideline, which is I want things as segmented as possible without it becoming an impediment to my analysis or optimization. So if I could have it my way, in a perfect world, every single search term that ever came in that I got to click on would become its own campaign. It would be the most insane. There'd be 200,000 campaigns. But obviously there it breaks the second half of that, because now I can't do a lot of actionable things with it because the account is too big. It's hard to manage. So I always like to then sort of find that sweet spot of where do I get the most bang for my buck when it comes to segmentation.
Right.
I like to use single keyword campaigns as almost like the next level to graduate keywords. So, starting things as segmented as possible. So maybe in small groups of campaigns, and then eventually becoming more and more segmented as we get more and more data and reliance that, this deserves its own budget. Because if you can control budget on a if you can control budget on a per keyword basis, that gives you the power that you were just talking about, where it's like, I want to go harder on this keyword for this product and go a little softer on this keyword for this product.
Yeah, that's our approach as well. I think it's super powerful when you can take your most impactful keywords and put them in your own campaigns, even maybe split up by match type. I always like to have my exact separate from everything else, but it's not feasible in a lot of scenarios. So for example, what we do, and especially for Prime Day, I think if maybe this is one of those actionable strategies that you can take away right now before Prime Day, if you're listening, and you can do this outside of Prime Day, of course, is to focus on the organization of your campaign so that your data comes back super clean when you're able to review and analyze it later. So what we're doing right now is we have a product that we sell. It's a washable pee pad for dog, which is perfect. I just told you, Mike, I just got a new puppy and
Congrats.
actually brought one of these. Thank you. I brought
Shout
one of
out
these
to all
home.
the dog dads out there.
Yeah, shout out to dog dads. We love separating our campaigns by the selling point. So we have a bunch of washable related keywords in one campaign. We have a bunch of reusable keywords in another campaign, separate from the use cases, like a crate pad or a couch pad or whatever. Be segmented almost by the type of keyword, essentially. And to your point, that makes the analyzing all the data so much more easier. And if we ever feel like one of these keywords stands out and we need to spend more money on it, then we just take it and put it in its own campaign. And then we pause it and enable it whenever we want to spend on it in just that one campaign. So maybe something that you can do before right now is just think about the organization of your data and how you're going to be able to read that post Prime Day.
Big time. If you cannot say, oh, let me increase budget on my very best top 10% keywords, if you can't double the budget on those keywords because these keywords are in a mishmash of many different places, you should fix that anyway. And it just becomes more and more important because what you don't want to happen are like higher volume, lower performing keywords to eat up the budget and steal impressions away, or run out of budget and get capped on keywords that could be doing a lot better. So campaign structure, I'm happy that you mentioned it because it's an important one.
It's one of these things I'm kicking myself actually from last year's Prime Day. I'm looking at my search term reports and my campaign data from last year, and I didn't organize it as good as I'm doing this year. And I'm really kicking myself because you can't get that data unless you downloaded it. I believe Amazon takes away the search term report after 90 days or something like
for sponsored products. So
for sponsored products, yeah.
So did that exact thing happen to you? Did you get budget capped within a campaign, and then you had like some of these great keywords get limited almost?
Exactly. So I had and I did segment them pretty well. As I mentioned, like we had a campaign for like washable, and we had like 20 or 30 keywords in there that mentioned washable and in some different way. And what I didn't realize and what I should have done is take a few of those out that I know are top keywords. Whether that be the search volume is very high for it or our keyword rankings are very strong for it. We have a tool at Jungle Scout. It's called Rank Tracker that helps you actually see the organic versus sponsored search rankings for any product. And I should have looked at that and said, okay, there's like these 5 keywords that were within the top 5. And let me take those out, put them in their own campaign, because on Prime Day, I want to be number 1 in that spot. And I will spend anything to get there. And my bids will be way higher just to try to do that. But what happened is, I think what we just mentioned earlier is halfway through the other day, I'm seeing campaign or keywords that I didn't want to spend that much on spending because I had the bids enabled to spend to do that. So yeah, I should have, in hindsight, separated some campaigns and thought about my structure better for both Prime Day performance and reviewing it post Prime Day.
I think that's very brave of you. Not many people talk about their misses, only their hits. So
yeah, I'm full of them. Yeah, we can do a full podcast on it.
So I think some interesting things too. I would say in general, if you have 2 options, 1 is to go more aggressive and 2 is to go more conservative and like sort of shrink budgets and shrink bids. I would almost always say whatever business is pushing harder is probably going to be better off in the short term and long term, both getting the sales in the short term because you're in better positions, better paid positions, but also better in the long term because those better paid positions with more sales will eventually translate to better organic positions. So I'm fascinated by your approach to sort of go more aggressive before and after Prime Day. Talk to us a little bit about what your perspective on that, and did you do this last year on Prime Day too?
Yes. So I had a slightly different approach than what I'm doing this year, but the overarching strategy was still the same of, to your point, go aggressive early and after. So my philosophy there is to collect as much data as you can early on. So pre-Prime Day, you just want people to heart your product, get it in their shopping list, interact with them in some way so that you can retarget them either on Prime Day or post-Prime Day. And that's powerful for converting better on Prime Day, but then also when any product is in your shopping cart as a shopper and you have a lightning deal on, it's a limited time deal, post Prime Day, if someone didn't pick up your product, because certainly they can't buy every single product that they want to revisit on Prime Day, then they'll get a notification on their mobile phone. Usually most shoppers have those enabled that says your product is on a limited time deal. And I think that's super powerful because you used pre-Prime Day marketing to just get that data, to get that customer interacting with your product. And then post Prime Day, you still have them to potentially convert into a customer. So I'm always thinking about what I can do outside of Prime Day with the pre-Prime Day buildup. Post Prime Day, it's the same story of you using that retargeting data, but also if your product is a summer product, this is a early fall product, then to your point, Mike, you want to be in a better organic position come that peak season. So I like to use Prime Day as a reason to just increase my rankings and
springboard.
Exactly, a springboard. And you can do that on the product level if you have a ton of different products. You don't have to do that from the whole account. But I think that's really important, is to use Prime Day as, I guess, think of your goals before Prime Day on the product level. Do you need to get more reviews? Because Prime Day is going to give you a ton of reviews in the long run. Do you need keyword rankings to go up? Do you need customer data to retarget them later on? So I'm always thinking about what can happen before and after Prime Day, as opposed to what's going to happen just on Prime Day.
Mm-hmm. You know, I want to shine light on this other strategy, which I don't think gets talked about a lot. And in fact, the person who mentioned it to me last year was almost like whispering it to me, like, hey, like, is this about it? Like, should I feel ashamed for what I did? And basically what they did was nothing, meaning they didn't touch any of their PPC campaigns. And they're just like, you know what? I'm going to be in some position on Prime Day. You know, I'm setting up my deals, all that stuff. And I'm not going to change my CPCs. I'm not going to change my budgets. I just want lower ACOSs on those days, and I'm going to use that as a profitability day.
That's great.
And it's interesting too. So number one, I always say, like, different businesses have different goals. It's so hard when, I'm sure feel this too. Whenever you make content, it's like you're trying to see as many sides as possible for people and give people lots of different perspectives. But in reality, like, businesses have different needs and different goals. Definitely. And I think for some companies, using it as a day to, like, maximize profit by basically saying, like, hey, conversion rates are going to go up, and I don't necessarily need to go all the way to the top. Maybe I'll keep my CPCs where they were, and I'll get still a conversion rate bump. I'm going to turn this into really nice profitability days. And then, they have different strategies. Maybe there's a business need for that increased profitability, or maybe they're going to use that increased profitability and to launch new products. And, like, eventually they did the calculus that if I get more profit on Prime Day and then launch another product, I'll end up with more profit in the future. Like, all these different scenarios. I just think that's really interesting. I just wanted to shine some light on it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's worth a bigger conversation. Like, what is the business doing? How are we doing? What are the business's goals? I'm curious if you've ever heard of people just like, I'm just going to slide through. I'm just going to slide through Prime Day with better conversion rates and maybe not go crazy with increased spending.
I did. And is that story from last year, or is this a previous year?
It was somebody from last year. Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me or not, but I feel like a lot of people were thinking the same thing, and I did as well. I tested this out.
It was because of fall Prime Day. Launch. They were like, another Prime Day? Are you serious? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They know something else is around the corner, even before Q4. And I tested this out. So I actually had a Prime Day deal I set it up for just the first day. And the second day I didn't have a deal, but what I did is I had a list price cross off. So my listing still looked like it had a deal. It just didn't say Prime Day deal. And it was essentially the same amount off. And what was crazy is I definitely lost money on Prime Day last year, the first day as a whole. I was just launching my product. I think it was like a 3 or 4 month old product at the time. And I lost some money on that first day. And the second day I recouped it all back because I just stopped. I turned off ads, like you said, and I did just everything. Or I didn't do anything. I mean, other than that cross price, which is, I was still selling at that price before Prime Day. And I like that strategy. I don't know if I'm not going to do it this year, but last year it worked. So I think if you're in that way, like you want to go towards profit this year, that's a great approach, and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy that you shared that, because it's true. I think so much of Amazon marketing is sort of like business dependent. What are the business goals? And I think sometimes people sometimes try to mash their business goals into like good marketing strategy. Like, what do I have to do on Amazon? But I don't think it necessarily needs to be that way. Like, you could sort of sculpt your strategy around what the business needs. So I think that's really, it's worth talking about more.
Yeah. And speaking of like those ancillary benefits, like we talked about increased keyword rankings, but increased reviews, increased subscribe and save customers, connecting with people off of Amazon. So if you have a product insert in your product, you can use Prime Day as a way to just connect with more people off of Amazon if it's directing them to your social media or website. Yeah. So I think, those ancillary benefits is a great thing to consider outside of just sales.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So it's June 30th. Prime Day is maybe, 13 days away. Do you feel ready? Do you feel prepared?
I do feel prepared because this year I feel like I got burnt a little bit last year. Mm-hmm. Again, not playing with my data right or organizing it exactly. So I'm excited to see what comes through and be able to analyze that later. If I can stress it again, I think that's important to organize data effectively and to recurrently download your reports. Unless you have a tool that can just aggregate all that data for you. That's super important. A lot of people they kick themselves because they don't have any data from the previous year to work with, and you're just worried about, or you're just going off of Amazon suggested bid amount. So I feel good now because I'm using last year's data, even though it's a little bit messy, but I'm excited to see what it's going to give me for, I guess it's upcoming fall Prime Day actually, and then next year as well.
Yeah. Awesome, Jake. And Jake, if somebody wanted to check out your YouTube channel, I mean, it's just the Jungle Scout YouTube channel. People know where that is. They're probably subscribed. Maybe one day I'll have to talk to you about how Jungle Scout got 275,000 YouTube subscribers. Congratulations.
Before me, that's for sure.
Yeah. But still, congratulations.
That's all Greg Mercer. So shout out Greg and Lenny
Greg
as well.
Yeah.
We'll have to get you on the channel too as well.
Awesome, dude. Maybe I think we might hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers within the next 10 years, I would say. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's big.
Yes, Jake, thank you so much. I'm stoked to hear that we're somewhat neighbors, so maybe we'll have to get together one day, go to Radio Coffee, get a coffee or beer.
Let's do it. That sounds good. Well, thanks for having me on, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Right on. Have a good one, everyone else. I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.